President Trump renewed his criticism against Washington, D.C. officials for their mishandling of crime in that city after a former DOJ staffer was allegedly assaulted in an attempted carjacking. And we played a clip earlier to begin the program where the president threatened a federal takeover of Washington, D.C. if they don't get their act together quickly. Well, is it only a matter of time before this happens? Well, joining me now to discuss this is Congressman Andrew Clyde, who is among those on Capitol Hill who are critical of the D.C. home rule, which actually moved the D.C. away from direct federal control. He represents the 9th Congressional District of the great state of Georgia, and he joins me now by phone. Congressman Clyde, welcome to Washington Watch. Thanks for joining us.
Well, Jody, it's great to be with you on Washington Watch. Thank you for having me on.
Well, it's a privilege indeed. I know you've got a lot of plates spinning and you're on the road, so thank you for taking time out of your schedule. You have been one who, for years now, have been on top of this issue with what's happening in Washington, D.C., and the lack of oversight and control. Give us your assessment of D.C.'s overall handling of crime in the city.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm incredibly disappointed, as is the president, and as literally I think every person in our nation should be disappointed by what we're seeing in our capital city. You know, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17 of our Constitution is so absolutely spot on when our founding fathers said that Congress shall have the power to exercise exclusive legislation in all cases whatsoever over such district. You know, over the federal city, over Washington, D.C., Congress will have that authority. And the crime that is currently happening in our city is totally out of control, and we have seen it get worse and worse under this Democrat administration. You know, the city has been 95% Democrat for a very long time, and we have seen the results of it. We've seen massive increase in crime. We've seen homelessness. I was just, down Pennsylvania Avenue, and you see homelessness all down Pennsylvania Avenue. This city is a disgrace, literally, to be the shining city on a hill of liberty to the entire world, the way it's run. And I think it's time that Congress take it back.
So let me ask you this. I referenced it introducing you, but the home rule, tell us a little bit about that, because it does go directly against the Constitution that you just referenced.
Well, home rule basically sets Washington, D.C. aside and says that, the city council and the mayor, they can make the laws in Washington, D.C., and that Congress has the authority to overrule those laws, but we have a limited time in which to do it. I believe it's 60 legislative days, or what D.C. has done becomes permanent law. Well, that's backwards. Congress should be the one, approving every law, and if Congress doesn't approve it, then it should be null and void. But that's not the way the Home Rule statute in 1973 was written. And so I think that's a huge mistake, and I think we need a legislative fix to that. And if we don't do that, as the president said, he's going to take executive action, and he has authority to take executive action over this city, because everyone who comes to this city from all the districts throughout the entire United States should be able to come here and enjoy the amazing things that have been built and the amazing history of our government by the people, and do so safely. And they're not able to do that right now. To quote one of the senior members on Capitol Hill, outside the Capitol Hill complex itself, the Capitol and the office buildings there, House and Senate, the Library of Congress, it's the Wild Wild West. Outside that little domain right there.
Well, let me ask you this, because you referred to this, and I'd like some clarification a little bit. As I understand it, the president cannot federalize the district exclusively through executive order. It would take an act of Congress to take it back, but he does have some authority in certain areas. Is that correct?
Yes, he does. He has a lot of authority in this city. Thankfully, we now have a United States attorney here in the city. Judge Jeannie Pirro, that was confirmed, and before that, we had a Biden administration United States attorney that literally would not prosecute violent crime against the citizens here, and the quote, teenagers that do adult type crimes, they just walk, and in fact, the city council, even back in 2023, they passed the revised criminal code act, which would have eliminated all mandatory minimum sentences for violent crime, except for number one, first-degree murder. But everything other than that, so rape, carjacking, second-degree murder, home invasion, brutal mugging and beating, what happened to that young kid that the president tweeted the picture of. If people
Right.
see that picture, that's terrible. For teenagers, a gang of teenagers to do that to another individual, especially when he's trying to protect a lady that they're trying to carjack her car.
Right.
It's disgusting, and yet.
Well, Congressman
literally,
Clyde, we're going to have to end it there. Thank you so much for your leadership on this area literally for years now, and thanks for joining us on Washington Watch.